Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So in this AFK journey video, we're going to talk about the celestial-hypogean priority guide updated to the season 5 meta. So first of all, before we start, just a few disclaimers. Number one, for the celestial-hypogean units, they are generally units which needs a lot of stats. So there are only a certain few select units which can work before Supreme Plus, but most of them would appreciate your upgrade to Supreme Plus. So ideally, you want to save up enough to upgrade them to the Supreme Plus tier minimally before fully committing to them. So that is one disclaimer. Disclaimer number two, for today's tier list, I'll be just splitting up the tiers into 5 different tiers, right? So meta tier basically refers to units which are currently seeing use for most contents, can be used for most contents, or is just really good in like most contents in general. So they are versatile, they are good, and they will be able to see some use for what they do. So that's for the meta tier. And then we have the Dream Realm tier. So Dream Realm tier are basically units which are really good for Dream Realm. Some, they're in specific meta teams for specific bosses, because there's 8 different bosses. Some of them, they are good for like 2, some of them for 3. So those units which are seeing some use for the best Dream Realm teams, they will appear in this Dream Realm tier itself. So I would say most of the meta units, they are also in the Dream Realm tier, and they're also able to see some use in the PvP tier. So for the PvP tier, it will just be units which are meta for the PvP side. So if you invest in them specifically for PvP, right? So meta is they're good for Dream Realm and they're good for PvP. For PvP, only PvP. And Dream Realm, mostly Dream Realm. You can also use them for other game modes, but mostly Dream Realm. So next we have Underpowered. So units in these tiers, they are generally not the strongest. They are very, very niche, and I'm just going to put Scalita here because like, unfortunately, Scalita, despite her buff itself, is still not really good. So that's why they won't be units I recommend people to upgrade. So therefore, they're in the Underpowered tier. And last but not least, we have the 1 copy tier. So this is technically not a tier, but rather a slot where this unit right now in the current meta can work at 1 copy. So this unit is none other than Mahira. Okay, so for Mahira's case, obviously if you upgrade her to the Supreme Plus tier, you can use her for PvP game modes and she will give you better results for AFK stages. But right now, Mahira is perfect even at 1 copy for the AFK stage push, because all you need to do with her is to insta-charm the opponent at the start of the battle itself. So therefore, if you are really low on budget, you want a good AFK stage meta unit, Mahira is a pretty good one for this season. So that's why she's 1 copy here. So she's not exactly the best in other game modes, but for AFK stages, really good and can work at 1 copy. So that's for Mahira. Okay, so with all the disclaimer out of the way, let us start with the Underpowered tier first. So starting off, Barrow together with Scalita, the very first batch of celestial-hypogean units, unfortunately does not see too much of a use right now, because the meta is really fast-paced, has a whole bunch of revive mechanics, a lot of DOT damage, Satrana Bonnie, and has a lot of like damage increase over time kind of team that can become stronger if you draw the fight for too long. So these 2 units, number one, Scalita's a little bit too slow. She has some niches against all the revive based units, but in most cases, if you have a 4v5 against the opponent and the opponent bursts down your team, even if Scalita comes down, she will just be immediately wiped out from the map in most cases. So that's for Scalita. So like she's not exactly very feasible for the PvE game modes as well. So like most of the time you'll see her in PvP, right? For those of you guys who have her invested. But even for the game mode, she's not exactly the strongest there. So that's why she's in the Underpowered tier. For Barrow, same thing, not that strong in other game modes. Specifically for PvP, she's usable, but not that strong as well. So that's why these two units are here. I would actually put Taylin in Underpowered as well. So Taylin used to be this unit that can see some use for Dream Realm for certain contents like Relentless Rumble, where you need her AoE to kill the opponent quickly. But right now, there's just so many meta units that can do whatever she do and better. The only niche she has right now in PvP is her revive mechanic to go with the store teams in general. But even for that, you have other cheaper and better options. So that's why I put her in the Underpowered tier. Oh, by the way, there's another unit that can also work at 1 copy, and that is Kulu. So Kulu is insane for PvP as well, but I think she can also work at 1 copy. So later on we'll talk about Kulu, but I'll put Kulu in PvP, so just a disclaimer, but she can work at 1 copy. So Underpowered's 3rd unit. Okay, Diano. So I would actually say that even with the Supreme Plus buff, even though Dino is stronger, like, I think you can pull off the Dino combo much faster. But Dino is a very stats reliant unit. So you will need like a matching Paragon tier to match up to your opponents if the opponent has a very high Paragon tier. And you will need your team to be set up specifically to hyper buff Dino to carry you, right? So he's a hyper carry for PvP. Still feasible, same thing as Gaeta and Barrow. You can definitely use them, but they're just not as powerful as they used to be. So that's why they are in the underpowered tier. So that's for Dino. Like, I don't see a team where you revolve around like Dino specifically and can win you the match. In fact, Coronaya, I was supposed to put Coronaya here, but then like I realized that Coronaya is actually very good against the revive metas in general. And Coronaya as a hyper carry, if you're able to pull her off, can win you the match in most cases. So therefore, I think Coronaya is a notch above. So that's why like Dino is here and Coronaya is here, because basically they do the same thing, but I think Coronaya is just stronger if you build the team around Coronaya as a hyper carry. So that's with regards to Dino over here. So moving upwards for the PvP side, specifically meta for PvP, Dunlia as well as Atelier, they are like the top two, I'll say like meta specific to PvP units. So Dunlia needs no explanation. He's able to shut down the ultimate or even the healing of the opponent's side. And like right now, he's the only one with this ability to do so. So he's very unique in that perspective. And a lot of teams which are very heavily reliant on ultimate can be shut down by Dunlia's skill in general. So very meta there and very strong for PvP specifically. Atelier is still one of the strongest standalone unit because she deals a lot of damage, even in death. So you can slot her in like revive-centric store teams, together with Saida, for example. And you can use her as a standalone DPS in most teams because of the damage potential. And you can put her with Iron teams where you group all the enemies together and then her X skill just does so much damage. So generally speaking, Atelier is still really meta. Between Atelier and Dunlia, I think Atelier is stronger, but Dunlia definitely has more long-term value because Atelier is a DPS that could be replaced by a much stronger DPS coming forward. But Dunlia is a situational-based tank that can be used in situations to stop certain combos. So this is where I think Dunlia is more long-term as an investment if you want to commit to a PvP-centric character. But Atelier is probably the strongest standalone right now for PvP. Maybe outside of Saida, for example. So that's for these two units. Cryonaya. So Cryonaya is definitely a unit which I think is the hyper carry that you want to build your team around right now. Because like the meta right now is a meta where it's very fast-paced. So like you can obviously build your team around Dino as well as Cryonaya and then like have them hyper carry you. But if I were to choose between Cryonaya and Dino, I'll choose Cryonaya because Cryonaya can deal with all the pesky revive, like 1 HP shenanigans right now in the meta a lot better. And like basically if she goes into the ultimate, there's only a few units that can fight her in the ultimate. Right? There are certain team archetypes that can counter her, but that can be said for Dino. So specifically for this slot as a hyper carry for PvP, I choose Cryonaya over Dino. Although I think you have better choices for much cheaper cost, but for Cryonaya, if you're able to pull her off, in most cases, she can win you the match. So that's why she's in the PvP specific. Not exactly the strongest, but I think she's meta enough to be awarded this slot. So that's with regards to Cryonaya. I wanted to put Saida here, but Saida currently is in the meta slot. So we'll talk more about Saida in a little bit. Is Harak usable as a... Okay, I'm going to put Kulu here. So I wanted to put Kulu in one copy, right? But Kulu is also very strong in PvP because she is an archetype on her own. Like, I think the thing about PvP is this. I think there are certain meta teams that can perform in different situations, no matter the map, no matter the terrain. But there are certain archetypes that are very melee-centric and they have a hard time passing Kulu. And there are certain archetypes which would benefit from having Kulu in the team to extend your range advantage. So Kulu is a range team-centric sort of semi-carry as a utility unit. So this is where I think for the PvP side, she's very niche. In fact, I think she is a little bit better than Cryonaya in terms of power level because she can go into a lot of teams as well. And I think in terms of utility, she has a much greater utility than Korinaya, which is simply a hyper carry. So I'm gonna put Kulu here. Although Kulu can also see some use for AFK stages. So therefore, like Kulu is a little bit tough. Yeah, cause like I think Kulu right now sees the most use for AFK stages, even at just 1 copy. But she's definitely usable as a PvP character. I guess what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in 1 more slot. Okay, so we're gonna add 1 more slot below about AFK stage, right? So AFK stages. So I think for this one we'll shift Kulu down, and for Mahira we're gonna shift Mahira up. Okay, so these 2 units, I think more specifically they are more used for AFK stages for their utility purposes. So both of them can be used at 1 copy. So Mahira can be used at 1 copy for the 3rd skill, and Kulu can be used at 1 copy for the war skill. So that's for Kulu, but definitely can see some use for PvP. So that's that. So that's with regards to like the usage for these units. I think they are more used for AFK stages than PvP. So next one, I think that's it for like PvP niche. Because like there are other units which are strong for PvP, but they're also good for other game modes like Belrun. So we'll talk more about that. Dream Realm, Reina. So Reina is really good this season because of the charm ability and like has always been a good bosser. So if there's a unit which you want to invest in and ensure long-term longevity, I think Reina is one of them that has been around since the release of the game. So on and off, early game, you see him meta for Dream Realm. So he's very specific to Dream Realm right now, not as dominant as he used to be, because you can use him as a reposition unit to debuff the enemy in PvP as well. So that's another strength for Reina, but more specifically right now is as a Dream Realm support for the debuff on the boss. So that's for Reina. Very, very good investment. I think he's one of the stronger, higher end long-term unit. Alice. Alice is very strong for Dream Realm specifically. I think there are certain teams which runs Alice for maximum damage. But then like I don't know whether or not to classify Alice as a meta, because like we are in this transitional phase where units like Harak as well as Fresto, they are coming back. So like in terms of like the priority side, I think right now I don't know how to grade the 3 of them, because Harak is seeing use for Necro Dragon, and then Fresto is seeing use for Chris Shellbrute. And I think as we move into the late game with better equipment, with better scaling on HP percentage, base damage or true damage in general, I think Fresto as well as Harak can actually come back for Alice slot. So Alice as a damage buffer / semi DPS might not even stay relevant for the Dream Realm side. So I'm just going to put her here, but she's on the lower priority. So you don't have to rush for her yet. You might want to sort of observe the situation as we move into the later parts where everything is level 900, where we get to see the full potential of the unit at a higher level charms to decide which one to commit if you're thinking about units in this column. So that's for the Dream Realm side. So last but not least, meta. So meta Belrun as well as our twins. So twins is 100% highest priority, followed by Belrun, followed by Saida. So twins needs no explanation. Best support right now, can be used in almost every single content, and it's just really meta for Dream Realm. Belrun, same thing, can be used for almost every single content. See some use for some of the meta teams for the Dream Realm side, and use as a damage dealer as well as a semi-tank for AFK stages, and also the PvP side of things. So really, really meta. And last but not least, Saida. Saida is not a Dream Realm damage-centric character, but outside of that, I think she's pretty meta for AFK stages as well as the PvP side. So therefore, I'm going to put her in the meta category. So for those of you guys who are new and you do not know who to commit to, the safest bet would be the first 2 units, the twins as well as Baron. You pretty much don't go wrong with them, because for Baron's case right now, in terms of damage scaling, if Baron's able to enter his celestial form, he still does a ton of damage. So one of the stronger damage dealer, and twins is one of the best support in the game. So that's that. Initially, I would actually recommend Fresto, but right now, Fresto has a lot of good substitutes. One of the best being Theodore, having tankiness, having the buff, as well as the utility for the debuff. So that's with regards to Fresto. So this 3, they are the metas in terms of what they can do. And I think the thing about Saida is this. I feel that Saida as a unit will remain relevant for a bit, because the ability to just keep on coming back to life is pretty annoying. So even if she falls off the AFK stage meta, she will still be usable for PvP just to be really annoying, right? Keep on using the ultimate, spawns the seeds, and then just slowly wither the opponent down. So that's that. And like Skylar might be able to counter her, but it doesn't matter if you rush down the rest of the other allies first. That's with regards to the celestial-hypogean priority. With regards to the Dream Realm side, right now, Hara is seen in Necro Dragon specifically. Chances are he will remain as a Necro Dragon specific niche. And then for Alice, right now, this unit, she is used in tandem with Shamira for certain bosses as a semi-DPS as well as a buffer. But right now, as we enter the Endless stage, we are able to see the higher potential of the Battle Charms. So I'm not sure whether or not she will remain on top. So in terms of priority, if it's Dream Realm specific, Reina will still be your safest bet. So that's for Reina. Presto is also like a bit unstable because the Dream Realm meta keeps on evolving, keeps on changing based off the scaling. So between these three, I don't know which one will stick around. But I believe Presto will come back because he has always been decently usable for the Dream Realm side. So that's for the Dream Realm side. For the PvP side, safest bet right now in terms of individual power level, I think is definitely a Talia. Unless a pretty good one for long-term investment because he's in this place for his utility and tankiness. So that's for these two units. And then last but not least, Mahira can work at 1 copy for the AFK stages. Same thing for Kulu. And you can use Kulu and Mahira for the PvP side, for the instant control as well as the walling capabilities. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more. I'll see you guys again in my next AFK journey video. Bye guys.